So these are onions that have been regrown from just store-bought onions. It's very simple to repurpose them. If they start growing roots, even a little bit of root, you can put it to where the root barely touches. Like I'm using baby jars where the root barely touches the water, and it'll get so it'll barely touch the water, so it's not soggy, and it'll get all this root in there. Once a good amount of root grows, you're able to transplant it, and that is the process that we are in currently. I'm going to show you how it's done. Okay, so this is how we're going to do this. Yes, it involves sharps. So FYI, it's something that you have to use because according to the stalks, this looks like it might have 2 stalks. We'll see when we peel this back. And this has 2 different stalks, you can tell. I've had up to 4 before. So what we're going to do is how you take this. You take it out of the water like this. We put it aside because I usually, if it's decent water, I'm going to dump it in after I plant it. You're going to peel all this off. All of it. So you can get down to the white where it's more transparent. And you can see what's going on in here and where exactly to cut, because there's 2 bulbs that are inside of this. You can tell it's getting a little moist around the top, which you want to catch this in enough time to where it's not squishy, because that means that it's probably not going to thrive the way you want and regrow your onions. So yes, from one small onion you can get multiple onions. Sometimes it's still a single one, but see how it gets more transparent as we go. So we're going to keep peeling this, and if it's easy to peel, just keep peeling it. If not, you're going to lightly cut into this because you can see it's getting more fleshy. You're going to lightly cut into this and not into the bulb itself. That's why it's very important to be able to see where the divide is in the onion. So you can do this with kids, and you can put this in your compost. I got chickens around me, so they're kind of curious, and what they don't eat I pick up and put in my compost. But with this, you're going to cut slightly, make a dent in here, and I'll show you in 1 second what that looks like. Do this outside of the camera because some people are squeamish about sharps, but you want to do it ever so gently. See how you do it gently? Just so you can get a sense of where that bulb is, and you're going to keep peeling. It makes it a little bit easier to be able to peel it back gently to get down to where that actual bulb division is and be able to divide it. You can see how it gets smaller. It almost looks like a green onion when you get down to this part, even though these are not green onions. These are like Vidalia onions, the yellow onions, but it starts looking like it the smaller that you get down here. And you can do these with any onions. It's kind of like potatoes. You get the eyes on them, and you just kind of divide it up and replant it, repurpose it. They're trying to make it to where you can't do this a lot with your produce from the store, but that's why we want to try to get from like local farms and stuff like that, because we want people to eat. So you can see where it's divided here, and you're just going to gently, if you still, I didn't think that wrap was still there. I thought we were to that point. So see how it starts looking like a green onion? You're going to gently divide this up. You should be able to just simply pull it apart. Apparently that part wanted to come off. Usually I just pop them apart. If it's being difficult, go ahead and use your sharp a little bit to assist, because we want each side to still have this root on it so we can plant it like it's intended. There we go. Gentle, you can see the divide. And then what you're going to do is, I'm repurposing pots. You can put it in as big as a pot as you want. And you're going to put this in here, and you're going to cover it with soil and give it a nice watering. That's why I keep the water there for after we plant, because if we have dry soil, this soil is pretty dry. I try to keep it out of the rain, so you don't get, rotting occurring, mold, no mold is fine. But we're just gonna kind of put some soil in here I do have catchers for the water after we water, just so like on the really hot days when it gets up in the 80s, 90s, or even hotter, it has a way to get a drink if it needs it, so it doesn't completely get too dry. We don't want it super dry because nothing really grows that way. And after you water it, you can always add more soil. There is a lot of soil sales right now, but this is what it looks like. And then we're just going to give it a little drink. Catchers, a lot of times, I'm finding a lot of these pots where people are throwing them away, so it'll be on the top of garbage bins or at the side of the road, or people list it for free. It doesn't always come with catchers, but catchers are super cheap, anywhere from Dollar Tree or the local grocery store, or they're usually cheaper than like the farm stores. But that's how easy it is. And then your onion will flourish, and I'll show you some of the bigger ones. So I'm going to set this right up here. I do not have catchers right now. Right now my railing is acting like a catcher, but this is going to be a friend. I've tried planting some and giving them space just to see how they grow. This is a bigger planter, so they should have enough room. They're a smaller onion, so they shouldn't get super, super big. But I just did it as an experiment, and this one is getting thick, thick, thick. Like, you can see that stalk. So it just works out super duper well. I'm going to give this one a little bit more water so it looks more like that. But these ones have stayed outside. We've gotten down in the 40s, 50s. If it gets frost, I cover them up with a simple bag, like a little garbage bag, unfolded, not opened, but you can do that as well, or some kind of plastic just to protect it a little bit from the frost. But these are from my state, so I make sure to get local grown, so they're kind of already hardy to the weather accompanied in that local area. I hope this was very educational on how you can grow some stuff from scraps, and I'll be posting more about gardening and homesteading, so be tuned soon. So be sure to tune in. If I can talk today, I'm sorry about that stuttering and twisting my tongue up, but enjoy and get yourself out there and start growing food. It's very educational to involve the kids in. Good question from my friend Badger. How did you get them to where they start regrowing? So you can do this with a slice of onion where the big parts are in it. You can put that in a little bit of water. It'll start to grow some roots, and it'll start sprouting from those bigger sections in that slice. Or I was lucky enough, it came out of the bag like that. It started growing itself, just like potatoes tend to do, right? So what happens at that point is, even if it's got the little nubbies, like the little stubble when guys grow back hair, you can put that in a little bit of water. You want to make sure only those little stubbies, the little roots, are touching the water, not the bottom of the onion, because that'll saturate the onion and it'll start rotting. So we don't want that. So when you do that, it'll start growing. And mine was overdone for the roots that I showed you. You only need them like that big, and then you can start putting them in soil from that point. After you, of course, peel it like I had showed you, then you get more onions out of your one onion. So that's always fantastic to reproduce and get more out of your one that you start with. But yeah, all you gotta do is get a container where the bottom won't be saturated, but only like the very tip of the onion will be touching the water. And then it starts to regrow, and we get to do the whole replanting process. They like indirect sunlight, so not direct sunlight. And the windowsill is where I put them, like by my kitchen sink, facing my backyard. I'm in the, I guess, west side of where I'm at. So yeah, you just have to play around with like what it likes, because you'll see it thrive more in some places than others, just like any other plant. And they really like indirect sunlight. They don't like too much sun, and because then they start burning out. But just make sure you're keeping the water clean, just like any other plant. They're very low maintenance to try to get to this point and then to replant. So it's fantastic and great to show children, because it is teaching them how to survive with basic things and regrow their food. And it's science, natural science from Mother Nature. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks for the great question.